Om Agnir Devata Vata Devata Surya Devata Chandrama Devata Vasava Devata Rudra Devata Aditya Devata Maruta Devata Vishwe Deva Devata Brihaspatir Devata Indra Devata Varuna Devata. This mantra defines the many characteristics of God. Today, we are praying and we are saying that we deserve, we achieve wealth, wealth, and other objects which are beneficial to us. We pay homage. With gratitude in our hearts, we say, thank you, O God. My dear brothers, my sisters, parents, children, my fellow souls, namaste. Today, I'd like to talk about controlling the mind or putting the mind on a short leash. I don't know if many of us understand what that means, but no need for music, just this verse. Chanchal man nit om japa kar, chanchal man nit om japa kar. Om japa kar, japa kar, japa kar. Pal pal chinna chinna, ghari ghari nish din. Pal pal chinna chinna, ghari ghari nish din. Om japa kar, japa kar, japa kar. Oh, unpredictable and wandering mind. In every second and minute of our lives, in the day and the night, the advice here is to keep chanting Om, remembering, keeping that connection to the divine in our minds. That will bring us peace. So to begin today, I'd like to tell you something about my dog. His name is Alpha. How many of you have a dog? Those of you who have a dog can relate. Most days I wake up 4:30, 4:45, we go running with Alpha. Or I go downstairs working out. So if you can imagine, when we're running, I have him on a leash about 6 feet long. Alpha is young, he's somewhat still in training. So while I'm focusing on running ahead, if he smells something, he wanders off in that direction and he takes off. He sees much better than me in the dark, so he might spot something in the dark and he runs after it. I'm trying to run straight, he's trying to run that way. If he sees a squirrel or a rabbit, he wants to have them for breakfast, literally. And God forbid if he sees a cat and he takes off after the cat. He's taking me with him because he's 85 pounds of muscle. So while we're running, I'm holding on to the other end of the leash. And 85 pounds of Alpha, he takes me for a ride sometimes. See what I'm getting at? Our minds sometimes are like Alpha. We are so focused on our goals and our spiritual goals, but our minds, no, that's another story, not so much. Our mind smells some things, it goes after it. It smells food, it wants to eat it, it distracts. It sees another person, it wants to meet, it wants to engage in the latest gossip. It wants to share what it reads on social media. Many of us that mind won't stop us from talking. So our minds are like that uncontrollable dog on a leash, always pulling us this way, pulling us that way, distracting us to everything else but our goals. And even when there is nothing to see, it imagines and it creates distractions within. And we end up daydreaming about things meaningless and of no consequence in our lives. Even though our mantras we chant every single Sunday, Om Yachakrato Duramadaiti Daivam, while the restless mind wanders to faraway places. Tadu Supatasya Tataivaiti, even while sleeping it keeps wandering. Durangamam Jyotisham Jyotirekam, that mind which helps to bring forth my inner light. Tanme manaha shiva sankalpamastu, O God, help me, fill my mind with noble Shiva-like thoughts. And we recite this mantra. This mantra acknowledges exactly that confused mind which is so hard to control. With all my actions, this mind, if I can control, will bring me peace. So in the mornings when we go running, I pass by a few people who go to work that early. They're either driving off, getting into their cars, or they're walking out of their house. And upon seeing me and Alpha, a few of them will acknowledge me with a cheery good morning, a big smile, a curt, firm good morning. A few of them as grumpy as you could get. They're sulking, they look miserable. You can tell they did not even want to get up in this morning. But every often there's someone that sees me and turns away for whatever reason in their mind. That's okay. They don't know what they're missing. May God bless them anyway. You see, our general outlook, how we start the day, is totally determined by us. My brother Terry in the back, he knows this very well. He practices it well. He practiced starting his days with a good state of mind. We are not helpless to whatever becomes and whatever comes. We are not helpless puppets at the end of a string, which is in somebody else's hands. Too many of us mistake thinking that we're tightly bound to our karmas and whatever will happen and we have no control over them. That is wrong. That is an incorrect teaching of karma. So this little story comes to mind. Each day this man took his donkey to the river to load up with bags from the boat. And this one day he was ill, so he asked his son to take the donkeys and load them and bring them back. And when the son went to the donkeys wouldn't budge. They would not move. So he went back to his father and he says, Dad, I can't get the donkey to move. And his father says, each night when I go out, I touch the donkey's feet as though I am binding them. And every morning when I go out there, I touch the donkey's feet as though I am releasing them. They won't move until they feel they have been untied. So the son went back, and after he bent over and touched their feet, the donkeys happily took off with him. You see, us humans too, we think that we are bound when in reality we are completely free to think for ourselves, free to choose what we say and how we say it, free to do the things that changes our tomorrows and creates our destinies. That freedom is in our hands, our minds. We have the power to determine what our day is going to be like. No one else have that power over my life. Not the boss, not your wife or husband, not your friend, not your teacher. No one else have that power over you. You have that power over yourself. But I see this every day where people are bound by themselves. When I go to work, one of my purpose I find is that to walk through the manufacturing facility and put others in a good mood. After all, somebody in a good mood will always do a better day's work. And yes, there are exceptions. Sometimes there are those who you can't talk to them after they had their morning coffee. But let us look at what most of us do. And I've said this here before. Many of us, the alarm goes off in the morning and they have some kind of silly alarm, crazy things that put you in the wrong frame of mind anyway. And the first thing they do is grumble. It's time to wake up already. We reach out and we smack the snooze button. This one person tells me he hit the snooze button at least 3 times every morning before he gets up. And when the alarm goes off again, we get into such a sour mood and then we go about our business. And it is that same sour and bad mood which follows us for the rest of the day. This is the person that you can't talk to before 10, 11 o'clock. And then they will tell everyone, I hate mornings, I'm not a morning person, leave me alone, I did not have my coffee yet. And then I'll ask this person, if you hate the morning so much, how about if we ask God to take away the morning from you? Would you be okay with that? And they say, no, I never thought about it that way. But we should think about it that way. If your mornings are that miserable, however much pain or sorrow we're in, do you really want it taken away? Would you be okay with that? This person's day is the same. They're negative, argumentative, grumpy, loud, obnoxious, definitely not a pleasure to be around. I'm sure we all know people like this. Some other person might wake up to the sound of the alarm, they grumble a little bit, they resign helplessly, and they go around to their morning routine like a lifeless robot. They go to work. The coworker, that kind of coworker will tell you about the, saddest thing. They'll give you the saddest of good morning. And then they'll proceed to tell you about all their problems and their aches and their pains and all of that. And this person's sad outlook in life causes others to stay away from him because no one likes to be holding a deflated balloon. You'll find that person hanging around with other quiet, sad person. I'm sure you can think about people like this too. Are you that person? We must ask ourselves those questions. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who their eyes open to the sound of a prayer or something that puts them in a good mood. And the first thing that comes to mind is, thank you, God, for another beautiful day. And that person wakes up, gets dressed, with positive seed thought in head. And his entire day is uplifting, positive, kind, loving, compassionate. Of these 3 different people, who do you want to be like? Again, we must ask the question. Anytime I explain this to the Western mind, and many of you might get this, they don't know about mantras and prayers. I tell them, you know what? Wake up to that song. I think it's James Brown that has that song, I feel good. That song? Wake up to that song. See if it puts you in a good mood. If it works, great. So let's spend a few moments, examine what takes place in the mind of this positive person, right? He wakes up in the morning to a prayer of thanks, a prayer of gratitude, or even if you simply tell yourself, I feel good. This thought leads a sequence of thought. As you get up and do what you need to do, it's a seed thought that has been planted in a positive, fertile mind, and it continues to germinate and flourish. And as you continue getting dressed, you have your coffee or tea and you drive to work, that thought continues to grow, infecting your entire being, and you blossom into this light, cheery person with a bright, quick smile, willing to share and infect everyone else with it. That kind of person. This is the person you see at work, always smiling, always cheery, always positive, always trying to inspire others and share of that positivity. You'd like to be this person if you're not. That, my fellow souls, is the power of the mind. It is the mind that you yourself are influencing to become that person. This is the kind of thinking which frees up from the mind, from the things which otherwise keep us bound. Free to think, free to choose good words, free to choose to be happy, free to choose not to let negativity get to you. So this guru was walking through the fields one day when a troubled young man approached him. And the master walked with him and he says, join me. The master said, sit down next to me at the edge of the water. And he asked the young man, he says, please find a small stone. Because the young man was complaining, he's very unhappy. So the young man found a small stone. He says, throw it into the pond. The young man grabbed the pebble, threw it into the pond. The guru says, tell me what you see. The young man says, I see ripples. He asks him, where did the ripples come from? Oh, from the pebble I threw into this pond. So he says, okay, reach your hand into the pond and stop the ripples. Confused, the young man reached into the pond, which created more ripples. So he waited. Then the guru says, you see, were you able to stop the ripples with your hand? He said, no. He says, how could you have stopped the ripples then? You get it? If he had not thrown the stone into the pond, there would have been no ripples. Trying to control it after it has been thrown created more ripples. So then the young man goes, then he understood what the master was talking about. You see, that thought that gets us going, that gets us agitated, that gets us angry, that is a stone that we have thrown into the lake of the mind. And we create all of these waves, and then we go about complaining to the world about how confused we are and the kind of things that's bothering me. But we're the one who threw the stone in the calm lake of the mind in the first place. So let's go back a little bit. I was telling you about Alpha. While running with the 6-foot leash, those who have a dog would know the answer to this question. What could I do to control him a little bit better? Shorten the leash. Same thing with the mind. Let us work on how we can shorten the leash on the mind. This is what I mean when I say let's put the mind on a short leash. So what do I mean by this? It means more control, right? It means that if you have a problem with drinking, just maybe you should not keep the stuff in the house to give the mind an easy opportunity to make you its slave. Does that make sense? A short leash means avoiding situations in which you will compromise your values. For example, you and Arya attending a yajna, and please don't take offense at this. You attend a yajna, wedding, or a wake, and you hang out with the people out in the parking lot drinking rum out of their trunks. You have put yourself in this situation. Put yourself on a short leash by not putting yourself in this situation, not hanging around with those people in the parking lot, and giving yourself an opportunity to indulge. That would be putting your mind on a short leash. Avoid engaging in gossip and behavior which spreads negativity. I always joke with my wife, I say, I am the place gossip comes to die. Because when something is said to me, it goes nowhere. I don't even listen to it. So people know me, so guess what? Nobody repeats gossip to me anymore because they know it means nothing to me and it shall go nowhere. So when you hear somebody call you and you know this person is gossiping, you know, it might not be such a bad idea to say a small white lie. I have company at the moment. Something to put yourself on a short leash. Stay away from those who sucks out your positive energy. Until you have learned to resist their negative energy. Negative energy wouldn't bother me. So I don't mind being around those because it don't bother me anyway. But if it bothers you, stay away from those people. That would be putting yourself on a short leash. Determine who and what you want to be and focus on your goal. Do not fall for the distractions in your life. And every time you notice that your mind is leading you down the rabbit hole, use the tools at hand. One of mantra can be a good tool. Tanme manaha shiva sankalpamastu. When you find your mind going down that rabbit hole and it's leading you to a confused state of mind, just keep reciting that one line. Tanme manaha shiva sankalpamastu. Tanme manaha shiva sankalpamastu. Tanme manaha shiva sankalpamastu. It will help. You remember, God don't help those who don't help themselves. Make the effort to control your mind, and when things are getting a little bit out of control, say, yes, please God, I need your help. Please step in, help me find peace in my mind. And it will help. The divine will step in. A short leash means putting yourself in the company of people who help you along to achieve your goal. Remember, my fellow souls, your mind belongs to you. You are the master of your mind. You should not be the slave to your mind. Be prepared to ditch those in your life who are the heavy anchors that prevent you from getting to your goal. So today I will leave you with this shloka from Bhagavad Gita. Very, very popular shloka, which tells us that the mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. Your choice. You make that decision. Udharet atmanatmanam natmanam avasadaye atmaiva hi atmanahu bandhu atmaiva ripu atmanaha. This great timeless shloka advises us that, oh man, udhare, elevate yourself through the power of mind. Or you can also degrade yourself, but it says do not degrade yourself. The mind can be the bandhu, the friend of the self, and it can also be the ripu, the enemy of the atmana, the self. My fellow souls, that is your choice. As a child of God, as an Arya, our thoughts, our words, and actions must be the kind that elevates us and takes us to a higher spiritual realm every day, it should not cause us to degrade and go lower. Do not let your mind wander uncontrollable. You, remember, are the master of your mind, which feeds on emotions, and then it uses that same emotion to create even more emotions to which you become a slave. Today, I encourage you. Remember that phrase, putting your mind on a short leash. And I encourage you to focus on the things so that you put your mind on a short leash. Do not be a slave to the mind, be the master. Lastly, my question to you would be, of the three people we discussed, which one would you like to be? The bitter person, the grumpy person, or the cheery person? My fellow souls, that choice is yours to make. No one else can come outside and make you unhappy. No one from the outside can come and make you happy. Your happiness is within. Your peace is within. Your bliss is within. Go within. Find that, and no external factor will affect your peace of mind. Today I thank you for being such a good audience, listening to everything I say. It is such a joy to see my sister Charlotte, Terry, and my children Josh and Jess here with your beautiful smiles hidden behind the masks. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. With love and humility in my heart, I say namaste to each and every one of you.